Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on episode 258, I'm very lucky to have Casey Berglund on the podcast. Did I get that right? Yeah.
Yeah, you got it, Berglund.
Oh, there you go. Hey, yes. She is a former registered dietitian, yoga teacher, but she turned purpose-driven business coach. How are you today, my lady?
I'm feeling fabulous, actually. And fabulous because I got some nourishing outdoor time in. Okay. with a client that I met in person for the first time and her son. And so we got a coffee, went to the park, her son played, we caught up. You know those moments where you talk to people from all over the world and then you feel their in-person energy for the first time? It's pretty special.
But this way, yes, I understand that being in person rather than talking over a telephone or a video link as we're doing right now is one of those things which is endearing trait of humans. We feel so much more connected, so much more drawn to each other when we are in person. If you think about it this way, when you're sharing a sports event, a film, or going to the theater, it's always enhanced with the company you keep. And when you have that moment of joint laughter, joint sorrow, or that tense moment where the hero is about to fall by the wayside, always enhance people.
Even the tiny bit of the awkward silence when you're just dropping in and getting to get a feel of someone's energy, even that I think is so beautiful. And we kind of miss out on those layers of common humanity via the online phone Zoom world.
Well, yes, but this is the thing. I think it's one of those things where I hope as a race we don't forget that sort of 2020, 2021 sort of scenario, maybe a little bit longer for some people out there, that sort of connection, that sort of bringing together, which was taken away from us for such a long time. And we were forced to sit in isolation, basically facing the world by ourselves through rather scary and terrifying times for quite a lot of people, wherever your politics might lie on that or where your beliefs might lie on that. But that being taken away from everyone, it's one of those things where we became poorer from it. We became weak from it. And I think there is I think there's a layer of suffering we most probably will have to address sometime in the future. It's fine now, but mentally, spiritually, and where we are as a people in the future soon.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I don't think we even know or understand the trauma of those events collectively, globally, and then in our own little personal lives, the little elements of our humanity that I think were magnified or elevated through the pressure cooker of growth that I think all of the events of 2020, 2021, they continue. There continues to be events all the time, and it just feels like that's something that I think will take a long time to heal from and become empowered from and awaken from, though I do find that at least the people who are choosing to grow through some of that difficulty, it does feel like it's happening very quickly, awakenings are happening quickly. Though I'm also quite surprised at how back to normal some elements of our existence feel, almost in a way where I'm wait, did we forget? It's not normal. It's not the same, but I almost have this sense in some moments of disappointment of seeing almost a regression, wait, those things that we were meant to learn through that isolation or through that disconnection, are we really integrating it and living it and helping our world become better because of it? What do you think of that?
What I would simply say is this: there are always going to be the sort of outliers on both sides of things. The people who go to the extreme on like the fringe of it all, like the fringe of I'm not changing, I'm like we're back to normal and that's it regardless. And like the people like go, I'm embracing this, I've learned so much, I need to change, and like go off into that. I would say with regards to the vast majority, and I don't have any empirical evidence for it, but there is a change which has set in, and I don't think anyone who's gone through it will forget it. I think it's a case of there are people, I think a number of generations which are like fundamentally changed forever. If you look back in the time of the Great Depression, like people who went through that, many of them were like, okay, I've always got to, like people who went through that, I must save some money always at the time. And it's like, why do you need to save this money? Things are good. No, you just don't know. Like I went through this, and like, yeah, people suffered and everything like this. I think there are going to be a number of people which will like look at this sort of personal freedoms and personal like liberties to basically do things. They will look at it forevermore and go, yeah, that can easily go away. Like job security. Okay.
What is that?
It is.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's changed. It's totally changed. Is anything really?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Secure.
Well, like this is the thing. I would say nothing was secure before, but it's a case of now that you're sort of aware of it in the cold light of day, that it's not just your job. It's like all jobs can just like disappear overnight where no one's doing anything. Which if I said to you in 2015, when like you had an epiphanal moment, like, okay, 80% of the world's businesses and trade will stop for 3 months, 6 months. Nothing will happen. World trade will stop. You look at me and go, what? What? But you know, it happened. And that's the whole thing. And I think with regards to a lot of that change in people, I think there are a number of people which are looking towards to try find that new path, that new way. And I think some of them will, and I think some of them are still like trying to seek that true path out, wherever it might be. I have to ask, talking about finding paths and like finding a way. Now you like went through like a severe transformation, mentioned 2015, but like yoga teacher and dietitian, it sounds like in the world that is quite a nice place to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it was. I did my degree in nutrition and did a yoga teacher training almost immediately after I finished my internship to become a dietitian, and started to integrate those worlds in my work right after. Or I tried to anyways within jobs I was working within, and it felt challenging. And I guess my entrepreneurial spirit led to creating a way to bring like mindfulness and Eastern philosophy into science for people who were struggling with their relationship with their bodies and food. So I mean, really, I had an experience in a silent retreat in Indonesia that helped me to like kind of go all in on starting a business and allowing that to unfold in the unique way that I felt called to bring it to people. You look like you're about to ask a question.
No. I'm listening intently. Like things are like coming into my head. No, please continue. Yes.
Yeah, well, I guess we're talking about people awakening or finding their path. And it's interesting because for me, I started asking the question about my path, like, what is my dharma, my purpose? Dharma is like a Sanskrit term that I'd learned through my yoga, just yoga teaching and yoga studying. And I became a bit obsessed with that question. Like, what am I really here for? What is my dharma? And so I was at the silent retreat and I was 25. And I remember walking around in the jungle thinking like, but when I go back, like, what am I here to do? What am I really here to do? And then there was this other voice that was like, Casey, you're 25 years old, like chill, like people spend their whole lives seeking a path or discovering their purpose. Like, just hang tight. You've got time. But then there was a part of my soul that was like, but what if at 25, I was connected to a sense of purpose? What could I do by the time I'm 70 or 80, or by the time I die, through deepening into this self-discovery now? And so I just had this experience in meditation where I received an answer that was not what I was expecting. I was expecting the answer like, go back and maybe quit your job or look for a new one, or, here's a path, here's an option. But the wisdom that I received was, your dharma is love. And it came to me in this embodied, felt sense, indescribable way. Even when I talk about it now, it feels like the words don't do justice for the felt sense. It was my first sort of spiritual awakening through using yoga and meditation as a path versus just, meditation helping me with my anxiety or helping me relax. It was like an opening where this clear message came through. And that message, I started to journal on, like, okay, if my purpose is love, what is my next step? And it led to me really discovering that I did need to move out of my job and lean into these gifts that I knew I was here to share, and do an extra, at that time, it was a training in teaching yoga to people struggling with eating disorders. And things really just like flowed from there in an almost magical way. And it's interesting for me looking back at how much trust I had in that message, and how like bold I was to just like, okay, I got it. Let me go do something about it. But those undeniable truths are hard to ignore, So yeah, that really kicked off like an early part of my business and journey in supporting people. And then basically I had a whole other experience of that in 2018 that created a shift. And then 2020, 2021 brought about another one of those moments where that like kind of download message came through, and the core of my purpose, it being love, like I'm more committed to that than ever. I'm more committed than ever to, with my energy, with my imprint, creating more connection rather than separation in a world that wants to keep us divided, and creating more love rather than fear in a world that is perpetually offering us these fear-based messages. And yet the manifestation of that purpose continues to evolve and change. And I've just been reflecting on it a lot. And I'm just so grateful for the part of me who's always had access to a sense of my own sort of spiritual truth.
I hear you. Because
yeah,
no, like this is the thing. Like when you go, yeah, your dharma was love, and like I do like go love. Okay, I get love, but like the way it manifests itself, like I don't know if it was your perspective or if that sort of type of love into like, okay, helping people with eating disorders, and then yoga. Like, you get what I mean? If you said someone, it's love, and it's like, okay, how do you express that love? Well, through diet and yoga. If people like, oh, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. And I think for me, like I had experienced an eating disorder when I was younger, and it was very much an experience of like disembodiment and disconnection from self. And I feel like disconnection from self is fragmentation, separation. And to me, love embodies a wholeness to it. And so when this message came through, and in the sort of introspection around it afterward, I guess I just trusted the wisdom that came through. Like, how can I be a vessel for love? How can I share more love in the world with the gifts and tools that I have, with the life experience that I have? And having gone through a lot of healing around disordered eating early on, having a background in nutrition, having a background in yoga, knowing deeply because of my own lived experience that I think one of the causes, symptoms, I'm very open to not being right about what comes out of my mouth. So we can discover this together. But like, disconnection from self is a disconnection from love. To me, love is like wholeness and is connection. And so in that moment in time, when I was writing in my journal, like, okay, what the hell does this mean to me right now? What I was writing is like, it starts with you. It starts with me really taking care of myself. And where I was feeling like deep tension or pain in my life prior to that trip, this was a extended trip that I was on. It just helped me to see it with a different light, where like staying in that suffering was not a loving choice. You know, I think there's something to being in discomfort, learning how to be with struggle, be with contraction, learn how to be with the uncomfortable parts of myself. But there was a reflection where I just felt like I was keeping myself suffering in the choices that I was making, which were not loving. And so I wanted to be more self-loving. And then I thought, like, who's like a group of people that I'm maybe uniquely positioned to serve, who I know need to experience more self-love, more healing. And that's kind of where the connection came in around people struggling with food and disordered eating. I'd seen it a lot just in my work up until that point, how, you know, I would talk with someone about their nutrition or, you know, what they'd eat. And I was trained to like calculate what they needed and offer meal plans and all of that stuff. But when someone's sitting across from you and they're telling you about an, you know, uncontrollable feeling that leads them into a binge late at night, that's not about nutrition knowledge. You know, it's not about what I had learned in school. It was about something deeper. And being able to like hold space in a non-judgmental, loving way, I just learned that that was the most important, powerful ingredient for transformation and healing, versus like, okay, instead of binging on chips into the evening, like try a vegetable tray. Like that's putting a different type of Band-Aid on something that has a different root cause, you know? So anyway, does that connect? It connects for me in terms of how those things came together for me.
Like, I like listen to you talk, like with regards to, yes, your dharma, you're finding your path on this like side of things. Like, what I get from this is you discovered how to love yourself, and in turn you're helping other people to like love themselves. Because look, when you're in, if you don't love, like if you don't like yourself, or you feel so disconnected from yourself, this is where, okay, we wander down some dark paths, like eating the sweet on one side, self-harm on others, and even on even greater harmful things where, like, yes, we don't see the purpose of us being in this world because we have no value. We're not liked, we're not loved in this world, in this society, and we'd be better off not here. So like, sort of connecting that with yourself and like going, yes, love. Like, I have to ask, like, would you say you loved yourself before you came to this connection, or was there still a little bit of disconnect for you?
I think self-love is the journey of life. You know, to me, it's like connected to an ongoing healing journey that is infinitely at play.
Yes.
And so I definitely had experienced healing on my path leading up to that point, and experienced a sense of like self-compassion. But it was almost like that wisdom coming through, that spiritual wisdom coming through it was sort of like, it was like, it's like go time on this thing. Like there's like no more tolerance for that negative self-talk. And even that, when I say, it was almost like, can you bring love to the negative self-talk? You know, not like, can we get rid of all these parts we don't like about ourselves? More so, can I meet myself in a different way? So I think I have been on the journey of self-love since I was born. And I feel like I got disconnected from that through trauma, truly childhood trauma growing up. And then the path of healing is like a journey back to love, and it's ongoing. You know, like I'm speaking with you of one of these first initial experiences that led to this work with like people who struggle with food, but it evolved from there. Like it's like I don't do that anymore. And it's because I over time it felt like, okay, the next expression where I can have even more impact is doing the work that I'm doing, that I'm really doing. I was connecting people back with their bodies as a way of healing their relationship with their bodies and food. And I realized that as they were connecting with their bodies around basic needs like hunger, fullness, satisfaction, like, do I even want to do this movement, or am I moving because some sort of societal conditioning tells me that my body is wrong and I need to change it through movement? Like, what is the intention behind where your wellness practices are coming from? And diet culture in the wellness industry, I think, perpetuates, quote, wellness practices that are coming from a self-harming place. Like, I don't like myself, therefore I must eat this way, exercise this way in order to be different. And my experience was when I would guide people into their bodies, like through mindfulness practice, through specific embodiment practices, not only were they reconnecting with the primal instincts of like hunger and fullness and satisfaction. Like, so many people don't even know what that feels like because they've been following diets for decades, right? They've been ignoring their body's cues. But not only were they reconnecting with their body and healing their relationship with their bodies and food, they were also starting to reconnect with their personal power. My clients would start to like get out of abusive relationships and like learn how to live on their own through a sense of power. They would set boundaries. They would exit jobs that were not healthy for them and start businesses. And to me, those were like expressions of self-love that like, ooh, it gives me chills just talking about it now. It was less about the food and more about what would happen in the inner experience. And I sort of realized like, I got tired of trying to coach people why weight loss was the wrong goal and why the real work wasn't about the next meal plan to follow, that we had to go deeper. And I also wanted to expand the embodiment work to a whole other cohort of people, because I noticed that the embodiment work was connecting people with a sense of purpose, with a sense of alignment within themselves, a sense of power within themselves. And that was the part that was really lighting me up and was the expression of love that it evolved into. So kind of that's where the transition into, you know, doing coach training, coaching people on embodiment and purpose work was sort of the next iteration.
Yeah, no, like this is the thing, like with regards to like people making a real sort of change, like getting healthy and getting better. People always jump to the assumption that, yeah, this thing is my cause and my root of all my problems. And they look at it as an outer like entity. And like you slay that outer entity and you get better. But as you were saying, it goes deeper. Like people need to have that sort of realm of self-reflection. And like going back to what you did mention, discomfort, like people are not prepared to sometimes take that long look at themselves. And look, this is the thing, you look in the mirror and like you will see many different faces of who you are. Some of that will be beautiful, great, wonderful, like a shining light for the world. But there are times when you really do look, there are some like ugly parts of us, that like some true parts which we don't like to face. And these are the things which that, sometimes haunt us and make us do like, well, let us fall into that sort of realm of the dark path, as I call it, where like eating disorders, self-harm, like a myriad of things come from.
Well, and those are the parts that require the love. Like, it's sort of like unconditional love is unconditional. It's bringing love to the dark, shadowy parts, not just the like joyful, bright, expansive parts of ourselves, you know? And I feel like I don't know, even just what you said, the dark path, sometimes those, when I, with the wisdom I have now, looking back on the years when I was a dietitian,
Yeah.
I can see now that people's eating issues, it's like the eating issues literally help them survive. The eating issues literally help to regulate their nervous systems. Like so many people have eating issues, it's coming from a place of unhealed trauma. And people who have disembodiment, I think all of us go through a period of we were born into the world embodied, and then we learn to kind of check out of our bodies. That's a response to trauma. And the checking out is our consciousness saving us from experiencing pain. And so from that perspective, food is being used to regulate a nervous system, even alcohol, right? If someone's traumatized, they're using an outside tool to like as an attempt to regulate. And from that perspective, it's kind of like, okay, can we actually like thank the tool and bring love to the tool that might be harming us and see it with a broader awareness, and then find maybe healthier, more nourishing tools. But like if the underlying trauma is not addressed, then the mechanism that kept that person safe from experiencing the trauma, if we take that away, it's not going to be sustainable unless there's something that either is doing the deeper healing or we have some other healthier mechanism in place. How much sense does that make, if any?
It does make sense because I look at it when, like, from what you're saying, like, yes, dealing with that trauma, like having, like, taking that on, this is part of like some of the things what I think you like, there is a survive mindset and a thrive mindset. There is an abundance mindset and there is a scarcity mindset. And if you're in like a survive mindset, you're always on edge and you're always going at sort of 90 miles an hour into the red zone. Like if you're a race car, you're about to brake at some point. When the people are in a thrive mindset, it's like, okay, right. The pressure comes off. They like the demeanor of the person changes, the sort of mindset, like, well, the mindset obviously changes, but everything about them comes more relaxed. They like they're a lot more freer to deal with things. And yeah, rather than sort of whatever they might be using to help them survive a very traumatic situation, be that like substances, be that food, be that, you know what I mean, like extreme exercise.
What's your sense? Sorry, I'm really curious to hear more about your sort of definition of a thrive mindset and what your sense is of how people make that shift or transition, because I do feel like sometimes the survive mindset can be almost a default, like an automatic pattern. So either like for you, what has helped you to embrace that, what you call a thrive mindset, or stay in that? Or how do you see other people even shift from that survive to thrive state?
Now, with this, it's like, it's one of those things where it's just taken lots of sort of observation of people around me, as well as like observing myself. Like, because like, this is the thing, like there's been many times in my life where I'm like gone through and go, okay, yeah, stuff's going on. Yeah. Like, yeah, life isn't going my way. And like, this is the whole thing. And like, I go, yeah, why isn't that happening? Yeah. It's because of that. And it's because of this. And it's because of that. And this. And like, throwing out all of these things out there into the world and like going, yeah, it's all of these things. And like the whole thing is, you are the constant in the equation of life, regardless of what anything happens. If you like bad things happen to you, you can make the choice of how you react to it. If good things happen to you, you make the choice of how you react to it. But without a lot of self-reflection and sort of trying to find who you are, and that doesn't necessarily mean you've got to like go, okay, I've sat down, I've read this book, and I've gone, yeah. It sometimes means like, yeah, sometimes doing hard stuff, whatever that might be, challenging things on a sort of day-to-day, week-to-week basis to sort of like go, okay, I believe I'm at this level, and can I be at that level? If I don't push myself to see if I can get to that level, I will never know. But it's very easy to go down to a lower level, but it's very hard to push yourself to get to the next level. And with that, like, I don't know when it happens or like whatnot, but like I would say bit by bit, like because you've been in those sort of like hard places, because you've been in those foxholes, your mindset slowly changes. Yes. From like, okay, yeah, into a place where, yes, I can thrive. I'm not just surviving, because when
you build resilience.
Absolutely. You've got to. And if you don't build resilience in this world, you'll find yourself like even things which people would think are the most trivial things take you down hard, take you down like fast, like, and you'll see no way up from it, because you haven't actually faced anything hard. You haven't actually pushed yourself, you know?
Yeah, I do know. It's so interesting. I was having a conversation with, I tend to attract people who have moved through some shit. Like they're like deep, soulful people, and they've moved through some shit. They've like done some healing. They've had hard things that they've had to go through. And I feel like they're my favorite people because you learn so much going through that tension or that contraction. And then suddenly there's like an opened up depth, like I sometimes find it hard to connect with folks who've had like just sort of smooth sailing, or it's felt like smooth sailing. And I also have to be mindful of my own judgment of that too, because sometimes I think when there's like the seemingly perfect storybook family or whatever, there's their own stuff going on there that is a different version of hard, but I do agree with you. I feel like the resilience and the grit that's built up in the human spirit when moving through challenge makes for like really sparkly, multifaceted people who can have interesting conversations and go to deep places and like not freak out about it.
Yeah. And like, this is the thing, look, don't get me wrong. We are the privileged few in this world where, okay, look, you live in Canada, I live in the UK, like, okay, when it comes to the sort of lottery ticket of places to be born in the world,
totally.
We're doing very, very, very nicely. And I don't say that to be disrespectful to other places in the world. It's just, that is what it is. But with that, you've got to sometimes like go, okay, to compare your life to someone who is less fortunate to you, like from your perspective, you're going through a hard time, and that person's like going, you know what?
That's nothing.
Yeah,
I'm struggling to eat.
Yeah, I don't have running water or power. Like get over your feelings and move on swiftly. But from your point of view, you're going through the worst, and you'll never be able to convince them because they have gone through a lot worse than you.
And I mean, I think the sort of comparative suffering thing can be a rabbit hole to go down. And you're right, like I think it's always good to have perspective around, like, you're right, we're so privileged, and it's a privilege. Like even when you were talking about the survive thrive mindset, like I definitely believe that every human spirit can find a sense of empowerment. And I'm also very aware that there's privilege associated with being able to even move into that thrive mindset if say you're someone who is struggling to have running water and to stay alive, like literally.
But like, this is the thing with regards to what you do and basically helping people find that sense of purpose. Like someone comes up to you, Casey, I need to find my purpose in life. Like I know what I would say to them, but what would you say to a person who's like, comes to you like that? What would you say?
Oh, I want to hear what you would say, and I'm sure you'll tell me. I'll answer that. So it's interesting. On one hand, I would say like, In some ways, your purpose finds you. And on the other hand, I actually believe that there is an intentional process that someone can go through to really like get a sense of what their natural gifts are that they've had for a long time. Like when I'm working with a client who is going through a big transition and is asking like, who am I and what am I here for? You know, it's like that self-discovery, those questions. What I often do is I take them into an experience of prior memories, like when they were a kid and they were lost in time or lost in flow. And I use a series of questions and my own intuition to get kind of to the root of like, like in that moment when you were sitting cross-legged on the bathroom counter looking at mirrors, what was it about that was so fascinating to you? What were you doing underneath what you were doing? How did it feel? What was the best part of that? What are these moments that have offered you this like big sort of inner expansion? I feel like there's nuggets of wisdom there. And then when you go through like 2 or 3 or 4 of those experiences throughout life, what I find is there's a thread of truth that is so obvious. And it's just them. Like I hold space in this way for so many people, and it blows my mind every time how no one person has the same natural unique gift. And what's also interesting about that process is I think often where someone is the most gifted can also be tied to where they have the most trauma. Like pain and purpose can sometimes be so linked. And it's not abnormal for me to guide someone into their body, into a prior experience where they were in flow, and that expansion be met with like a contraction because something happened in that moment with their parents that left them feeling abandoned or whatever. What I notice is that those moments can sometimes come together, and in that there's an opportunity for both healing and empowerment, for people to be like seen in their depth and seen in their gifts, and have that reflected back. They're like, oh my gosh, yes, I do that. I literally do that with everything I do, and I don't even see it because it's so natural to me. And also, I'm scared to really amplify that even more because maybe in the past that's been associated with some sort of traumatic event. So your question's obviously loaded. I think sometimes we just need to like live our lives, and it's totally fine. And like purpose comes in the little moments. It's not just what are you doing for a career? It's sometimes like, how are you showing up? What's the energy you're showing up with? What is your unique offering to the world in every moment that you don't turn off because it's uniquely you? So in short, I really think that like someone's purpose is connected with their being, like what they do naturally when they're being whole and authentic. I think moving through painful moments also shows people qualities of their purpose, like through going through painful moments and learning things. There's a great offering or gift that can be given to others. And also, I think sometimes we need to like let go of trying and not hire the coach, not hire me to help them with purpose, and like get back to just like doing things that bring them joy. Like sometimes I think we need to lighten up. And I don't know, the people that I attract tend to be like really into their own healing. They're always doing the work, And sometimes I think the work is like letting go and living and being present.
I hear that. No.
Yeah.
No, very true. I think that is an important thing. Like if it was me, I would be like, okay, like I'll ask, like, what is your day at this? Like, what is your sort of day? If it's like work 9 to 5, come home, like, yeah, just watch TV, chill, or like, yeah, sit down with like my significant other, like chill, like be there for the kids and like just chill. But I go, okay, like get out and do more, like just like do more activities, like do something for 3 months, then change it. Do something again for 3 months, then change it. Do something again for 3 months, then change it.
Yeah.
It's a long process, but as you said, there is a thread of truth which will always be there. And like that's the whole thing. That'll be the linking. There's going to be 1 or 2 things which will always link up, which will like, okay, you're right. Oh, wait, hang on, like I've done, yeah, I play on this football team, or like I go on this running club, and like, yeah, because of this camaraderie, that's the most important thing to me. Great.
Yeah.
Or it's like, okay, competing against like people on a team, that's the most important for me. Or like, yeah, going to all of like exotic places around the world, that's the most important thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, the sort of, it's not the exact thing I would say they will find their purpose, because I would say it'll be the first real step on
Mm-hmm.
getting them to their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think your purpose always, if it's healthy and you're playing a sort of infinite game, it should always evolve and grow. Like the one of the
Mm-hmm.
saddest things you'll ever see is someone who goes, I want to be the champion of the world in whatever, or I want to be the biggest like company in the world doing this. I want to be the best coach in the world. And
Yeah.
like, you know what? As soon as they hit it, it's like all that drive, all that focus, all that determination is now gone,
Mm-hmm.
because they've got to that destination, they've got to journey's end, and they look around and like go,
Yeah. It's like, don't conflate your purpose with a goal. Like what you're talking about is a goal. A
mm,
goal, you set a goal, you like reach it. But I agree with you. Like one's purpose, I think, is ever evolving, and there's different like layers and colors that get shown. And you know, I mean, I told you about the moment where it was like that my purpose is love. What I was expecting was like, what should I do when I get back? Like when I get back home, what should I do about my working situation and my, you know, and it was like, it just felt like God laughed and was like, it's not about that. It's about this like energetic undertone, you know, and how you use it. And I feel like that was such great wisdom at that time.
mm. So what happened in 2018 to sort of be this, that sort of next spark?
Well, I drove across the country and taught these yoga for mindful eating workshops. And again, it was like helping people with their relationship with their bodies and food, but really trying to get them connected with their inner voice. And when I got back from that trip, I was like, God, I don't want to post another damn thing on social media about mindful eating. Like, I'm tired of talking about food. This isn't about food, you know? And then I actually like talk about privilege. I went to India and I studied my advanced yoga teacher training in an ashram in India. And I was meditating in the ashram, and almost like a paralleling experience to when I was at that silent retreat, I heard the words, let go of your dietitian identity. And I was like, wait, what? Huh? You know, I kind of always already was feeling like there was something more for me. Like I was feeling confined by the box I'd put myself in
Mm,
as a dietitian. And it was just of the same tone, that same kind of like undeniable truth that came from within. And so I was committed to that. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean I need to do? Like, and I was already thinking about how can I serve people in deeper ways? And maybe what other training might I need to do that? And I was committed to it. And then I got back home. And within 5 days of returning home, the universe gave me a little dangling carrot. I got an email from another dietitian. I did a lot of media work. I was on the news every month. I did all this stuff. I had these accolades that boosted my ego as a dietitian, connected to my dietitian identity, which I actually think is like such a normal part of the journey. You like, that's what keeps you hanging on, is like the ego hanging on to this old identity. But yeah, I got home from India and I got offered this all expenses paid trip with the food industry, with like General Mills, like 5 dietitians being flown down, and we got wined and dined and like all this, stay in this nice hotel and blah blah blah. And as soon as I got that email, my whole body like contracted, because I knew it was a test kind of.
mhm.
And I rationalized it and talked myself into it and said yes to it, and of course like had a pretty good time. But that choice sort of sucked me back into my old identity for another probably 6 months or so. And it was like there was this tension because I heard that voice of truth in the ashram in India, but I was acting out of alignment with it, telling myself it could be in alignment, like maybe if I just do this or the other thing. And then I was actually preparing for a news segment. I remember it so clearly. It was like July 2018. It was super hot outside. And the producer of the show kept telling me, like, I know, Casey, you want to like do some deeper stuff on the news, but our people just want you to like, they want to see recipes, they want to see food displays, right? And so we did this segment that was called Simple Party Potluck Ideas That Require Zero Cooking. And I, right? You're like, huh? Yeah, exactly. My point exactly. But anyway, I was preparing for this segment the night before, and I, got my ingredients. I was making like a chickpea salad and this watermelon dish and these sort of like caprese skewer appetizers. So it's basically taking a toothpick and stabbing it into a tomato and bocconcini cheese and basil. You know the appetizer, right? Then you drizzle like balsamic glaze on it. Have you ever had that?
Well, like basically, yeah.
Yeah, right? Doesn't matter.
Cocktail stick and just that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm poking these toothpicks too, and I like poke myself right in my finger. And it was kind of like this pattern interrupt. And I slammed my hands down on my island, and I was all alone in my house. And I was like, Casey, what the fuck are you doing? So I'm like, why are you doing this? This isn't like what you do. And so the next morning, I packed up all my stuff, went into the news segment, set it all up, put on my like dietitian outfit, my corporate kind of look. And I did the segment. And when it was done, I packed my stuff up. And as I was driving away, I was like, that's my last segment. And I was driving just coincidentally to meet another dietitian friend at a coffee shop. And I sat down with her. Tears started rolling down my eyes. And I was like, Andrea, do you want this gig? I've been doing for 4 years, once a month, going on the news. I was a spokesperson for Dietitians of Canada. I basically was like, do you want it? Take it. And then I think I dropped a bunch of money on hiring a coach and a brand strategist. And I just like knew in my soul, I wanted to do what at the time I called deeper work, and I trusted and kind of let go of the things that really connected me to that dietitian identity and embraced a new way of serving people. And, at that time, from a business perspective, I like reached out to my community and I was like, hey, here's what I've learned about the power of embodiment. Here's what I've learned about like connecting you with your body consciousness and the power of inquiry from an embodied state. And like, what are you struggling with? And what's happening for you right now? What are you wanting? That kind of market research. And I signed up for a coach training program. And then it just sort of unfolded and evolved from there. I got my first like few clients where I was guiding them in a more integrative way to like understand themselves and their purpose and to set goals that were actually in alignment for them, not just things they thought they should do. And that really like continued for the next couple of years.
Interesting. Like, I have to ask now, when you started to cry, was it the fact that you were mourning the fact that that identity was dying, or was that the sort of like main cause for that?
Yeah. So I've mentioned so far just like the term embodiment, how that's like such a powerful tool. And what I've learned through my own self-growth and study, and also like learning a lot more about the intuition, is my prime way of understanding my intuition. Yes, I have clairaudience, which is why I hear those voices, let go of the dietitian identity, your dharma is love. But I also have access to clairsentience, which is an embodied response to truth. So I get tingles down my right arm when I hear something that's like, whoa, that was like true. But I also get what I call truth tears. So in that moment, the tears were like, I was talking about what just happened for me with my friend. Mm-hmm. And the tears that came forth, they were just, I would understand them now as like truth tears. I get truth tingles and truth tears. And probably mixed in with that was like letting go, like, because the choice was made. And so, just like in a breakup, just when you break up with someone and it's your choice, there's still a mourning or a letting go or a grieving that happens. So I feel like it was probably a combination of both.
Ah, I see. Ah, very interesting, because the other thing what comes to mind, okay, now, do you call yourself a coach for people, like not for yourself, so other people understand, have
Yeah.
something there? Because the whole thing is your whole vibe and your whole character and everything like this, to go, yeah, I'm a purpose-driven coach. It's just it doesn't make sense to me that you're going, okay, here's this box, and this is
What would you call me based on what you have experienced? If you had to slap a title on what I do, this is like the hardest work of my life, is putting a label on what I do.
The whole thing is, I would say, lifelong learner. You're on a quest for truth, truth for others, but more importantly for yourself, truth for yourself. But the whole thing is, for the world, the way I see it, if you say that to someone, they're like, what the hell does that mean? It's quite clear to you, and I understand that, and maybe it's like you, but when you put the coach badge on, or the little coach hat, to go, I'm a coach. Oh, I get that. I understand where you're coming from. Purpose-driven coach. Oh, you mean you help me find my purpose? Yes, but it's more.
It's so funny. Like, I know I'm laughing because I feel called out in the best way, because story of my life, when I was a dietitian, I was I'm a dietitian, but I'm not really, that's not really what I'm doing. And now it's there's no words. It's well, I'm a healer, I'm a guide, I'm a truth teller, I'm a truth seeker, I am an intuitive, I am clairvoyant, I'm clairaudient, I'm clairsentient, I'm a witch. I don't know, call me what you will. I don't actually care. I don't care. I guess what I tend to share more when people ask what I do is I tend to share more about the journey that I guide people through. My clients often are people who've had some sort of awakening or traumatic event, a job loss, a breakup, a health issue, that has created a crack in their consciousness to start asking deeper questions, like, who am I and what am I really here for? And when they come into my world, I help them in that navigation of their next level purpose and how to connect with their body wisdom so that they can create an aligned path for themselves and aligned work for themselves and an aligned business for themselves, and learn how to take their unique puzzle piece fingerprint of their energy signature and align it with the right people and the right offers at the right price points to actually serve the world in a way that the world needs. But it's interesting because when I walk down the street and walk by a coffee shop and see a guy who I know because I've just walked by the coffee shop every day and I've known him over the years, and I ask him how he is, and he pulls me to the side and he's like, I'm not good. My mental health has relapsed, and I'm just questioning everything. And you better believe I'm also going to sit down with him for an hour or two and have a coffee. And that too is my purpose, right? So it's there's business and there's purpose and there's me as a human. And it's this infinite, limitless, expansive, unboxable energy, because we're all divine. We're all so expansive. So that's the more truthful answer.
Mm. So what would you say, being who you are and being on this journey, what has been some of your greatest lessons and your greatest challenges along the way?
Yeah. Oh, there's so many. I'm just there's so many. I feel super grateful for the family and the environment that I was born into.
Mm-hmm.
And it was both one of immense privilege and immense trauma. And I, like I want to be respectful of the family and the environment I was born into, but like for someone to be 13 and have an eating disorder, that's not because of a food issue, or it's because of like stress and mental illness and like navigating your way in the world. And so I feel like I've had a number of challenges that have stemmed from my like family structure, my parental structure, and substance abuse. And I grew up outside of a 200-person town in a rural community. And so I think as someone who, I mean, I can say this now, but I didn't know it at the time. Like as a gifted kid who I could see things. I understood what was going on from a young age. I just like had this feeling of not belonging, and growing up, I didn't really like, I was bullied a lot and I had crossed eyes, and I just, it's just like these things that impact the development of like one's self-worth or behaviors. And so I have gratitude for all of it now. And, of course there's more, there's lots, right? Because, that had me finding yoga and starting therapy at 19, and like engaging with healing practitioners and working to like move through some of that trauma. And I feel like every time that happens, we talked about this earlier, there's a resilience that's built. There's like a beauty or a wholeness that gets to be felt. So yeah, I would say one of the struggles that I'm still navigating and experiencing is, and I think this is a human struggle, is feeling like safe to be my true self, like safe enough to be as big as I am, as powerful as I am, as loving as I am. And it sounds weird, but like when you're a young kid who like when you learn that you don't belong, or you're isolated, or you have to navigate struggles on your own, or there's inconsistency with support, I learned how to just like take care of myself. And I feel like I'm going through a season right now where it's like, okay, like just because you are resilient and you can take care of yourself and you do have spiritual connection, which I'm so grateful for, because that's saved me time and time again. You get to be supported by people, you get to have community, you get to like, I feel like we need that, So I don't know if that answered your question. I feel like I just kind of went on a ramble through various things.
You did go a little bit on the tangent, but you know what? Like, hey, like processing, thinking, like talking your way through things. It's the way like people's minds work. People might not.
Yeah, it's authentic. Like if I just had this defined answer in a little box for you, like here's my struggle, like it might be hard to believe.
Well, indeed. You like, and I have to ask, because you've mentioned trauma like a number of times, referring to yourself, and like yes, like at a stage where you might like 13, eating disorder and everything like this. Do you like? Is it okay if you let us know what that sort of root cause trauma was, or it's entirely up to you?
Yeah. Well, my family's like navigated just alcoholism, and I mean, and I've experienced sexual assault, rape, being mugged on the street, like a lot of trauma related at the hands of men, I would say. And so there's been a lot of healing as it relates to that. And yeah, I feel like that's maybe what I feel comfortable sharing right now. But some of it's like sacred and also in process, like there's more that comes up all the time. And I guess like I'm an empath, so I'm learning how to use that as a gift, but I've also carried other people's trauma in my body through being an empath, which is a whole other thing.
It must be very hard as an empath, like to look, you're carrying the weight of your trauma, but then like taking on other people's trauma, and depending on how connected you get, like it must be very difficult not to kind of lose yourself in that?
Yeah, well, I have lost myself, and that has sent me on an initiatory journey. Like when I say I've lost myself and then started waking up depressed and really burnt out. And like the depth of that happened actually in 2020. But it led to me finding like a mentor who could help me understand my empathic nature and help me understand like consciousness and energy management and energy shielding and all these things that aren't taught in school, and they aren't, even talked about, I think, in general in the way our world is right now. But I just like have received support and mentorship in building my own energy back up, in understanding what's mine and what's not mine, in clearing energy. Because every time I'm working with a client, like our energy field is connecting. Empathy is a good thing, right? It helps us understand each other. But I have practices in place now about how to clear that after, and how to prepare a physical space for when I'm meeting with other people. And that's constant, right? Like I have meditation and practices that I do every day simply to keep my energy strong and to not be taken out by absorbing other people's stuff. So yeah, you're right. You're right when you said that you're a truth seeker, Casey, because like or a learner. I'm constantly learning about these like subtleties of being, and how to be my most resilient, healthy self as I learn new things about myself.
Interesting. So, Casey, like, where do you see this journey taking you over the next, say, 2-3 years?
Yeah. Well, me as human,
Yes.
It's just going to continue along the same sort of path, like keep this upward spiral of growth happening. I really understand that like healing never stops, and that journey of self-love, like I said at the beginning, it's an infinite journey, and I'm committed to it. So in whatever way that unfolds, that's going to be part of my path. From a professional perspective, like, I always want to be open to how that evolves too, because as I've shared with you, it has evolved in like pretty dramatic ways in relatively short periods of time. But at least right now, I created a facilitator training called the Let Your Body Lead professional certification that stemmed off of the TED Talk that I gave a few years ago. And it was something that I ran in 2020. And then it's like I needed to learn a whole other level of what I was actually teaching. So in the next year, 2-3 years, I'm actually going to be inviting people into that again, with layered into it the new wisdom that I understand now, especially for like intuitives and empaths. So that more facilitators can actually be connected to how to guide people into the wisdom of their bodies, how to really understand how to facilitate transformation from that space. Because I believe in the ripple effect. I think the world people really need healing right now. We all do, and we need support with that. And so I want to contribute to helping other facilitators be equipped in different ways to help their clients heal. Because to me, that's creating more love in the world. When we're healing, we're creating more love. When we can be connected with ourselves, we can be connected with other people instead of separate. So the next 2-3 years will be about training others. I have my first book coming out in the spring. It's a co-authored book with 2 other incredible humans. It's called The Embodied Leader. It's about using embodiment to support leadership. I want to write more books. I would love to, when we can now start to get out again. I'd love to do some more speaking. And honestly, just like show up in every moment with that love for people, for humanity. So thank you for asking the question.
Oh, no, I'm happy to ask the question. Yeah, it's very intriguing, because the whole thing is like helping people, like coaching people to help coach others to sort of spread that sort of message of positivity, so you can just enable others to be better. enable others to heal. I would say it's a very important thing for people in this world to like have some type of outlet for healing, growing, like recovering, because Lord knows, you know what I mean, this world can be a hard and painful place. And if we don't have that, there is no way for people to, if they can't heal, they can't get stronger. If they can't get stronger, they can't get better. And if they can't get better, the world doesn't get stronger. It doesn't get better. It doesn't see the sort of next stage of what we can possibly be as a possible like great and mighty like civilization, you know, like they crumble and like civilizations crumble and fall, empires like turn to dust. And I'm not saying yes, we're building the next new empire, but we've got many of the ingredients to have a staging ground to maybe move on to something higher. What that higher might be, I am not too sure. But if we fall back and if we can't heal or like grow from this point, we as a society will miss out on something possibly greater for not us, maybe not for our kids, but our kids and them going forward.
Yeah, and that matters. To do the work, to show up for it for generations to come. We might not see the fruits of our labor, but it still matters, you know. And I'm so grateful to you for bringing like these conversations out into the world too, because you know, I can tell that there's at least at some level an alignment in that mission of the world becoming better, right? And healing being a huge part of that, because hurt people, and we see it in leadership, right? So when we healed people heal people. Can we do that instead?
Hopefully. And like this is the thing, I think it starts small. Remember, everything which is mighty in this world always starts small. It's never big. And then basically watch it over a course of time and you'll be amazed how things can grow.
Yeah. I love it.
Hey, I have to ask, what was the last thing what sort of brought you true gratitude?
Oh, okay. This is personal. Last night, I received a call from a dear friend's boyfriend, and I could tell in the call that this friend needed some support. And I told her I was coming over. This was like 10:30 at night, and she was in the middle of a panic attack. And we held her, and another friend was on the phone kind of coaching and guiding, and I just like held her. And recently I've just come in contact with these like incredible souls where we just show up for each other in whatever way. She's done the exact same thing for me in many moments. There's, you know, like, again, as an empath in the world, there's energy that needs to move through. And it's so nice to be supported in that. And so that's what's coming to me right now, is like, what a gift it is to have the types of friendships where, you know, you are the 3 a.m. friends, the friends that you can call and they love you enough to call for support, to allow themselves to be held, to receive help. You know, I'm just feeling like I have this immense gratitude that's been building in the last few months for these really quality, deep relationships where it's a whole other level of support and healing and helping each other. And, you know, like, what a gift to be able to be there for her and to stay overnight and to come home this morning. You know, at the start you asked how I am, and I'm like, I'm grateful because I had this experience with a client of mine, but I'm also grateful because I've created my life such that I can show up, you know, like I can have a bit of flexibility. I have my own business, you know, and I just feel grateful for people, for my people. How about you? What's the last thing you felt grateful for? What are you feeling grateful for right now?
What am I feeling grateful for right now? I'm feeling grateful for like my lady who is like, yeah, expecting our first child and yeah,
Oh my
um,
gosh.
like healthy, strong, and yeah, should be like meeting, yeah, my little one in, wow, in about a month's time. So yes,
Oh,
so
congratulations.
I
That's so
thank
exciting.
yeah, thank you very much for that. And like, yeah, so it's just like, yes, exciting times are ahead, challenging times are ahead. And
Yeah.
yeah, like, yeah, slightly terrifying times are ahead. But
Yeah.
yes,
The unknown, the journey of fatherhood.
well, yes, like this is the thing. This is the reason why I'm going to get super strong. So when like that little teenage brat comes along, like, yeah, just like going, yeah, I've taught you how to fight, girl. It's like
Yeah.
if he like you break her heart, it's like she'll break your face. There you go. And leave it at that. But yeah, so that is one of the things which I would say I'm really grateful for at this present time. And yeah, I would say, yeah, I'm lucky, I'm privileged, and thankfully, but like hopefully blessed with abundance of other things in my life
Mhm.
to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
There you go. There you go. Casey, I have to say thank you for coming on today. You
Mm.
have been a star, a superstar, absolute joy to have on the show today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. This was such a delight to have conversation with you.
Ever so easy. Thank you. Can you
Mm.
tell the lovely people out there how they can find you out there on the interwebs?
Yes. Well, my website is letyourbodylead.com. And on that, you'll see all kinds of things. My TED Talk is there, the podcast. So I have a podcast called The Purpose Map. And on Instagram or social media at Worthy and Well, which is my company's name. And you'll have links in the show notes, I'm sure.
I'll put them into.
Send me an email, say hello. I love when people actually reach out and we get to build like conversation and relationship from these podcasting experiences. So whoever's listening, say hello.
Say hello. She'll find you. Oh, love it. I'll put all of the information for show notes into the description as yes, Casey said. Yes. So it'll be all there. I'd like to say thank you to you, Casey, once more. And
Thank you.
yeah, oh, brilliant. And I'd like to say thank you to you, my friends, my life warriors who are sticked with us to the very end. Please stay safe, stay well, be awesome, be excellent, be fantastic. Be all the positive bees you can be in this world and then some. Have a great day, guys. Love ya. Peace. And we are.